Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Julie Mann. I'm also known as the Habit Fixer, and I really love working with women over 50 who want to enjoy amazing health and well-being and self-confidence. And I do that through EFT, which is a simple tapping technique, nutrition, skincare, and digital products. And today I'm talking to a communication expert. She's a trainer, and her name is Yasmin. I can't even speak this morning, Yasmin. Yasmin Hanspall. That's how you pronounce it, isn't
Yes,
it?
perfect.
I just can't get my mouth and teeth, to do the right thing. Anyway, I know that you're going to be talking about joyful communication habits. So I'm just going to hand straight over to you and hoping that your mouth's not doing what my mouth's doing.
Many joyful communication habits. One big one is active listening. So important to actively listen. I think communication is speaking and listening, but one of the most actually challenging ones is to be to listen actively, and we don't always get that right. It's about basically giving everyone your attention when you're listening to them. And I did an introduction to a counselling course many years ago as an evening class because I was interested in it, and we had this activity where we had to actively listen. So the person in front of you, so eye contact, and we weren't allowed to interrupt, we weren't allowed to say anything, absolutely nothing, just look at them. But of course, we actually got the giggles in the end because it's one of those situations, where I think it's a nervous giggle, but it was amazing because if you don't say anything, I don't think we were even allowed to nod or anything. It was literally just listen. And it was amazing. And then we had to practice out in the real world. And I remember going to work and actually practicing it and really noticing that when you really, truly listen to someone, actively listen, they tell you a lot more stuff than they would if you were interrupting or wanting to talk about you, etc. So it's as we say, it's not rocket science, but it's a game changer, and it's like magic. You really truly listen to someone and they will tell you more stuff. So that's one thing. And also there's the saying, I'm not sure where the quote comes from, but it's the greatest gift you can ever give anyone is your presence. And witnessing someone's presence is, and that is so true. When someone really witnesses us or, gives us or gifts us even their presence, you really do feel, do you feel special? You feel acknowledged, don't you? And I think that's so important. Another one of sort of my joyful communication habits is plain language. So if we're talking about the English language, it's about plain English, when we're communicating. If you want your communication to be successful. So I used to teach English in 3 different countries, and I also studied and I speak Spanish. So I know, the challenge of, speaking in another country and understanding and being understood. Stephen Covey from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he said, seek first to understand and then be understood, which is really, I think, so true. So if you're a first language English speaker, it's about watching your language, basically, and if you're presenting or if you're communicating to an international audience, so you have global colleagues and global customers all over the world, it's about watching what language you use. So are you using colloquialisms, jargon, humor? Humor is good. Humor is good, and it's a good icebreaker. But you have to be very careful because it does get lost in translation if you're using it across cultures, and especially the British sarcasm, which I love. I love a bit of banter. I like the British sarcasm. But when I lived in Spain for 5 years and then I came back to work in the UK afterwards, I'd forgotten about, not completely forgotten, but forgotten about British sarcasm in the workplace. And then I was like, wow, it took me a while to get used to it again because although there was humour in Spain, it was a different type of humour. Definitely wasn't British or British humour, in general, which I do like. I do like, and jargon and just words. I mean, English language is lovely. It's very, can be very flowery, very polite. It's just, I really, enjoy writing in the English language. But if you are communicating, internationally, then you really need to, don't use unnecessary words or really long sentences or, long paragraphs. You need to be, because, there's lots of cultural dimensions, and one of them is, sort of being direct or indirect. And some cultures, like maybe the US or, the Netherlands, Germany in general, are more direct communicators. Whereas, other countries, sort of maybe South America or in Asia, it's more indirect. But if you are communicating across cultures, then it needs to be more explicit. Okay, so they can truly, if you are, you need to know who your audience is, and then communicate to them, effectively, which is being more explicit. What do you want them to know? What do you want them to do as a result of your communication? So therefore, you need to be more explicit. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, I'm using active rather than passive language as well. So, I've seen over the years people use a lot of negatives, and I don't mean like negative as opposed to positive language. I mean negative, like double negatives. If you don't do this, then you won't be able to do this kind of thing. Well, actually, you say do this, and this will happen, kind of thing. So yeah, that's really what I wanted to say. Yeah, and I suppose also, and it's easier said than done. And of course, I am not perfect, but I do try. Pause before reacting. For example, easier said than done if it's a challenging, maybe conversation. Count to 10 if you can. Go for a walk around the block, or or do like 5 breaths or something. And if it's written communication, then I used to deal a lot with like formal complaints from customers around the world. So it's a case of, or not even just customers or colleagues, that you've received some written communication that has caused a reaction in you. Read it, maybe draft a response, but don't send it. And then, sit on it, come back to it later, or even sleep overnight on it, and then look at it again with fresh eyes, or even get a second look from a colleague or somebody, as what we call a sanity check. So have a look at that. So yeah.
Wow. Such brilliant habits, Yasmin. I'm a really big lover of Stephen Covey, but I think it's very easy if you're an English speaker, which I am. I'm learning French, but I'm an English speaker. Then it's very easy to take for granted the things that we do and say, but it's so important, isn't it, to be mindful of that. And listening, I think that people are absolutely crying out to be heard. And people know when we're really listening. If we're listening, but we're just really keen to interject and give our point of view, or, we're thinking of the response and we're really not listening. And I think that when we can be in that space of really, really giving people the space and time to say what they need to say, it's extraordinarily wonderful. I know that you're talking about joyful communication, but it is a joy, in my experience, when someone actually really listens to me and I really listen to someone else. It's really extraordinary. So thank you ever so much for sharing those brilliant habits. I'm going to put all your links below this video, so please, if you don't know Yasmin already, check out her and her links. So thank you ever so much, Yasmin, and thank you very much everyone else for watching.
Thank you.